XYO about to break out. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name is Neil, keeping technical analysis short and sweet. And if you saw my other video, this is for the members. Hopefully this information is a little bit more beneficial and it keeps you guys wanting to be members. That's kind of what we're going for here. But XYO, the reason I brought this up in the previous video isn't just to get people excited about it. It's for the opportunity of where it's currently sitting at and what I'm actually seeing at this exact moment. If I were to do a live stream, YouTube and my iPad's not really working. But what I would keep in mind for XYO is looking at just these three candles. These are in the daily. Volume is picking up. Price is increasing. If we can get this to close above this previous orange candle, we could expect a bullish continuation. Why do I say that? If you're new to this or you're kind of figuring out how the market works, this right here, I'll circle it if my iPad won't lag out. This is called a bullish engulfing. Why is it a bullish engulfing? Because we had a push up. We got that rejection. It's not always going to show a rejection. We have the push up. We got that major rejection. It did not close. It could even close at the absolute low, but that could potentially mean a continuation downwards. But since we closed higher than the previous low, what are we doing? We are building higher lows. So since it closed higher low, and this one, this candle, in 4 hours shot up nearly 76%. That's a pretty hefty price increase. Major rejection. Why did we get major rejection? Because we had that 200 EMA coming in and slapping it back down into this downward trend line. Respect. Salute. It's very healthy. Some people freak out. They think it's going to have a continuation downwards, but there's other things to be keeping in mind and looking at when you're looking just at this one section on a bullish engulfing. I'll show you an example back here. Back in October 24th to 26th, we had that push up, major rejection off that downward trend line, and then we had a push down. It did not close above that previous bullish movement. And then we had another push up and major rejection. That shows a little bit more bearish. Why is that more bearish than what I'm currently showing you? Well, because we did not close above this orange candle on the previous day. So since it closed below that, it had that continuation downwards and downwards and downwards. Bullish movement upwards, rejection off that downward trend line, which is clearly showing that it is a trend line that it is respecting. Major rejection, consolidation, and then major bullish movement up. So this line is getting weaker and weaker every time this gets tapped. Major rejection, push up, completely blowing it out of proportion to the 200 EMA, testing the 200 EMA, rejection back into the triangle. So really this triangle with this one wick off shows that this downward trend line is getting pretty weak. If we can get this to close above this previous candle, we could expect a consolidation over this trend line and then a continuation up to try and get the people who are trapped within this liquidity sweep on the bullish side and give them the opportunity to exit. So we could see it consolidate over this downward trend line, potentially test it a few times as support, as long as we are building higher lows than the previous low, like this. If we can maintain that as support, even if we consolidate below this trend line, and as long as we are building higher lows, this has more potential to build up towards that 200 EMA. And when we can get over the 200 EMA, we can finally consider it support and have that continuation. RSI pushed up, came back down to keep this healthy, bring it close to the yellow. We pushed up. If we can close, we may see it pull back, forming a W in the RSI, and then the yellow pushing this up into the overbought area. And as you can see, we are not overbought right here in the RSI, but we had a 76% or more increase in price. So there's a lot more potential to the upside. Why is it so low right now? Well, this was the previous support right around this area, around 0.004 to 0.005. Last time we got that push up to the 200 EMA, came back down, got that consolidation, came down a little bit, and if you were to draw a trend line right here, this would be another example. Boom. Looking at that line, what happened? We broke the trend line, had the consolidation, came back, tested this trend line as support quite a few days later, a couple weeks later, and then pushed up to the 200 EMA, got that rejection, showed a higher low, where you can see higher lows, right? And then since we held that as a higher low, pushed up over the 200 EMA, and then all hell broke loose for XYO. So the people who were holding within that area, around 600% increase in price. That's pennies compared to what its actual all-time high really is, way up here around 8 cents. I believe this chart is incorrect. I think it's even higher than that. But we are breaking a downward trend line. We are testing a 200 EMA. We could see this push up over the 200 EMA, consolidate, and then come down, test this yet again at the 0.004, making it support, and then having that continuation. I imagine major resistance around here around 0.0024 to 0.003, but the 618 is all the way up here at almost 3 cents from less than half of a penny. If you guys are entering in XYO as soon as it breaks this trend line, that's nearly 267 to 337% potential. I mean, obviously 273 is pretty good to start taking some funds and waiting for a pullback, because the pullback could be all the way back down here around the 0.017. So that's kind of it for XYO. Hopefully it's beneficial. Hopefully it's a coin that you, if you haven't been looking at it, maybe you look at it now and can kind of piece together your own technical analysis with what I have drawn out here. The main thing I want you to keep in mind is if we close above this orange candle, heed my words, we may start seeing that crossing over that downward trend line and that push up yet again to 0.008. Like and subscribe, donate if you want, slap some stickers, all that good stuff, and good luck. Have fun with it.